Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Doc, Just Noise. Got King Dre, M. Greasy on the numbers.
What's good? What up?
Bringing you a Super Bowl edition. Super Bowl is an American pastime, so we want to jump in and give y'all a quick rundown of the top 10 Super Bowl teams that we've seen and some of the best teams in NFL history that have gotten that thing done. While the NFL is on a hiatus, we figured this would be a good time. So here we are. Don't forget to check us out every Friday night, Anchor FM, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. That's at 8 p.m. M. Greasy, King Dre, how's it going?
It's good,
All
man.
right.
I'm a little hurt right now. I'm trying to recover, man.
Right. I get it.
My heart is broken.
I get it. What are you talking about, Michigan? And
He's still hungover.
He's still hungover,
man.
You still hungover? I mean, the Super Bowl is in February. The college playoffs is in January. You still hungover?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But let's jump right into it. What are some of the great teams that you guys have seen? You know, just thinking back to the years and years.
Well, before we get into the list, I'm gonna give some honorable mentions. Throw some. I'm pretty sure you guys might have them on your list, but honorable mentions on mine, like the '83 Raiders, '89 49ers. Just outstanding ball clubs. 99 Rams. That was solid. Greatest show on turf, and them Packer teams. They were good. Winning the first two. The Jets team, 68. Naming it, calling it. Over the coast. That was a great Colts team to beat. The Colts finally got it done in 70 when they beat the Cowboys. And that was the first Super Bowl that had a defensive player that was Super Bowl 5. First Super Bowl that defensive player won, Chuck Howley. Yeah, it was the first. And then the second Cowboys Super Bowl victory was Harvey Martin and Randy White, if I'm not mistaken. So they've done something very interesting as far as, because 9 times out of 10, your Super Bowl MVPs have been quarterbacks. We had receivers win it like Swan in Super Bowl 10, Biletnikoff Super Bowl 11, Jerry Rice Super Bowl 23. But I'm interested to see what you fellas got on your list. Any teams y'all got for honorable mention?
No, I ain't even go that far with the honorable mentions. But you know what? I'll kick it off. I'm gonna give y'all my list, and I'll let y'all take it from there, man. See how y'all feel about it. There's one team on here that I can truly say that I did not get to see play, but I won't lie to you. This is the sole reason why I picked them. Y'all probably gonna laugh. It's gonna be a shocker. When I played Madden with these boys, these boys were live. 1966 Green Bay Packers. Yeah, that's my number 10.
Okay.
That's my number 10. Yeah, right. 1966 Green Bay Packers, man. And number 9 is the 91 Redskins.
Oh, okay.
Number 8, 95 Cowboys.
91 Redskins beat the 95 Cowboys.
Okay.
I think they would
number
be
7, 1994 Jones. Doc, you probably already know who this team is.
94.
Love to play with these boys on Madden.
The 49ers.
94 49ers.
Yes, sir. 1994 49ers, man. At number 7, I got the Ravens. 2001 Ravens at 6. Here we go. 1989. The 49ers at 5.
You love them Niners, don't you?
Hey, at number 4, I got the 72 Dolphins. Number 3, I got the 86 Giants. Number 2, I got the 85 Bears. And the number 1 team for me is the 1984. Y'all ready for it?
49ers.
49ers.
I can't front that. 49ers was my squad, especially on Madden, bro. Anything I was playing, I played with the Niners, boy.
Yeah.
That defense was live. That defense was always live for me, man.
So you took the 95 Cowboys? I mean,
honestly, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I mean, you could have picked any one of them. It don't matter. I ain't a Cowboy fan, so I don't really care. I just gave them a spot. I mean, they not that they didn't deserve it. They deserved it, but I just picked one. It didn't matter. They won the Super Bowl, so
right.
Yeah, man. That's what I feel, man. That's what I like, man. But I know number 10 probably caught y'all off guard.
What was your number 10 again?
The 66 Packers, boy.
The 66 Packers.
Yeah. He didn't even want to put in the 95.
Hey, I wasn't even a seed in the sack.
He went 30 years later to 66 instead of 96 with Brett Favre. Because that 96 team, man, it would screen your behind the deck.
Yeah, man.
That was ridiculous, man.
But and I figured I probably had y'all looking at me crazy because I had all them 49er teams on there.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not mad.
They was live though.
I got 2 of them. So.
Yeah, they was live though, man. The Giants, live, man.
Yeah, they was pretty tough. They was pretty tough for that era.
I didn't even look at it too. I probably could have done a better job with the Cowboys pick, especially with the Redskins beat. But it's all good.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, it's all good. What do you have in Greasy?
Well, my list is composed of these Super Bowl teams and their accomplishments during the season. Things that they accomplished, stats, all this stuff. Hall of Famers and, just great things about them. Coming in at number 10, I'm going with the 2000 Ravens. That defense,
yeah, buddy.
They showed up in the playoffs, and when I'm talking about flipping the field, and that offense was anemic, but that defense made up for it. In the playoffs, they only allowed 16 points in 3 games. Got to the Super Bowl, and it was a wash. They just blew the doors off the Giants. And I mean, that was just ridiculous.
Right.
Coming in at number 9, I got the 78 Steelers. Going back to that season, the Steelers after a 2-year layoff in 76, 77, not making the bowl. This team returning. That was Super Bowl 13. Them coming back and beating the Cowboys. Jackie Smith, he probably still kicking himself over that drop pass in the end zone. But this team was, now the offense is opened up at 78 Stalwart had a big game, and he just took Cliff Harris and I can't think of the other guy back there. He just took them to school.
Charlie Waters.
Yeah, Charlie Waters. It wasn't nothing you could do with that 78 Steelers team. Coming in at number 8, I went with the 92 Cowboys. I mean, that team was, you had the triplets, Michael Irvin, E. Smith, and Aikman, and that was just a great football team that just they just handled Buffalo, and they they could have set a record.
Could have,
thanks to Leon Lett, but we ain't gonna get into that. But number 7, I put this team in because of the they acquired one individual that put them. In the 90s, it was just these 2 teams. But on the early 90s, I'm going to go with the 94 49ers. Prime on there. And I know it wasn't Montana. It was Steve Young. And, you had Ricky Waters. This team is just I mean, before the season started, 49ers went to NFC West. We'll see Dallas in the NFC Championship. And everything happened, and Super Bowl against San Diego.
That was a wash.
It was over at halftime.
The game was hell. It was over in the first quarter.
Yeah,
that too.
It was over in the first quarter.
true.
You got nothing you can do with that.
I think it was like 20. I think it was like 21-0 first quarter. I was like, dang.
It got out of hand quick. Coming in at number 6. I got mad respect for this team. It was just straight ball control. Greatest linebacker of all time, probably one of the greatest linebacking corps, with LT, Harry Carson, and Carl Banks, and Gary. I mean, this team was that front seven was it. They got after it. They got after real good. Then you had Phil Simms, who eventually became Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 21. It's the 86 Giants. I mean, they had Morris running the ball, and it was just straight ball control. I mean, they came out to LA and they just punched the Raiders in the mouth, basically, just controlling the football. And this is how they played throughout. Number 5. I'm going with the 75 Steelers. Second of their Super Bowls. This was Super Bowl 10. A big game from Lynn Swann, who just made catch after catch, and he was just lighting the Cowboys up.
Right.
It wasn't nothing they could do with it. Number 4, I got to go with this team en route to the Super Bowl. They didn't allow a single point. Then when they made it to the Super Bowl, it was a wrap. Another Super Bowl that was over by halftime. It's the 85 Bears.
Right.
85 Bears was just ridiculous. I mean, that only loss was that Monday night game, and Marino just with the Marks brothers, Duper and Clayton just did their thing. But this team was very special.
Right.
Very special. Next coming in at number 3. I'm going with the 76 Raiders. That team, that O-line, the greatest offensive line of all time. You had Shell, Upshaw, Dalby, and Beulah, and Lawrence on there. This Raider team, there was always next season. And it was one interesting game they played on Monday night against Cincinnati. The stakes were, if Cincinnati wins, it knocks the Steelers out the playoffs. But Madden didn't want that. R.I.P. John Madden, who we lost this past year. He didn't want that. And the Raiders went out and they just smacked Cincinnati around. And they beat Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship 24-7. And then Minnesota, that was a wrap. I mean, they straight handled their business.
Right.
Number 2 team, I got the 84 49ers.
I knew it was going to be the 49ers.
84 49ers. I mean, this team in that playoffs, I mean, they took them 84 Bears to the woodshed.
Right.
And they beat a solid Redskin team. I mean, this team was no joke. I mean,
They had 10 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah. And
10.
The thing about Super Bowl 19 is everybody came to see an offense, but the wrong, because they played the 84 Dolphins. Everybody came to see an offense, but the wrong one showed up. Mm-hmm. Dan Marino's year turned into Montana's day. As Montana was named MVP. And my number 1 team, no one has done it. The Patriots came close until they met them Giants. Number 1 team, going back to this 49er team, I'm going to put one more stat with them, 84. That 84 49er team was the first team to win 18 games in a season. 18. They went 18-1 that year. And then, of course, following year, it was the Bears in 85. But this 72 team, they went 17-0. They went 17-0. And then through the playoffs, the way the system was set up, they didn't have like when they played Pittsburgh, that game was in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Because the way the NFL was structuring the playoffs, it was just weird. But this team, 72 Dolphins, I'm not a Dolphin fan, but this 72 team was good. After losing to Dallas the previous Super Bowl, the previous season, they came back strong.
Right.
Came back strong in 72.
Right. So we got the 72 Dolphins as the greatest team of all time and Book Greasy, and we have the 84 49ers and Book King Dre. So I did a little research. Didn't dig too deep into the analogs, just the old eyeball test and just some, analytical part of what happens and why some of the Super Bowl teams go on the runs that they do. As my number 10 team, I have the 2013 Seahawks. 2013 Seahawks. Legion of Boom. I think they took the blueprint from the Raiders of the 70s. Skip Thomas, Jack Tatum, Willie Brown. They took the blueprint from them as far as having man-to-man corners. The Raiders even pushed it into the early 80s with Mike Haynes and Lester Hayes. So they took that blueprint of having the secondary full of all pros. Cam Chancellor was the master at the robber position. Demaryius Thomas found out on his first slant route, separated his shoulder. Peyton Manning fumbled the shotgun snap, and as we can pretty much remember, that game was over by midway second quarter. I say when what they did that season leading up to the Super Bowl, it was tough going into Seattle. Everything went through Seattle at that time. They played on synthetic turf. They had a great pass rush, and they just basically had an Earl Thomas who was a Ed Reed clone, which Sherman was doing his thing. Browning was physical, let the bumper run, and then when you have the pass rush and you want to get rid of the ball quick, and like I said, you had Bam Bam Cam roaming that middle. They made it tough. The offense was Russell Wilson, a young Russell Wilson, beast mode, and Doug Baldwin. So that was a pretty good team. They did what they did for their time, considering that they played against a modern offense, and what Peyton Manning was able to do that same season with throwing, I think, something ridiculous, 55, 56 touchdowns, and they just shut them down. So big ups to Seattle. 2013 Hawks, my number 9 team. Now this – not really much of a surprise, not really much of a shocker, but for what they were able to accomplish also, just because of the simple fact that, during the season, they had a lot of quarterback issues. They weren't quite sure if Jay Schrader was the guy, if Doug Williams was the guy. They had some issues on the offensive line. I'm going with the 87 Redskins football team. At that time, they were called the 87. At that time, they were called the Washington Redskins. I'm going to go with those guys. Their regular season was full of turmoil. I think it was a strike-shortened season. I think they missed a game or two. It wasn't, like they missed 5 games or 6 games. I think it was a game or two they lost. But considering what they were going through at that time and how they just concluded the playoffs with the absolute devastation of the Denver Broncos, it was pretty impressive. Timmy Smith, we've never heard from this guy. He set the Super Bowl rushing record. That offensive line was the truth. I mean, the Hogs. I mean, that was the best version of the offensive line. And like I said, Jay Schrader was kind of a prima donna. The team responded. Kind of reminds me of what Philadelphia was able to do with Nick Foles, and how the Eagles really screwed up by going back to Carson Wentz. Look, the team responded better to Nick Foles. They responded better to Doug Williams than they did Jay Schrader. Jay Schrader was a good quarterback. He got them to the NFC Championship the year before. They ended up losing to the Giants. He comes in. He's on his prima donna role. He's stinking it up. Doug Williams is like, get me out. I don't want to play football anymore.
And in route. And who they beat in them playoffs? Uh-oh.
Bears, and they beat the Vikings. They did the run of Walter Payton. They ended Walter Payton. That was Walter's last game. I think it was the game with Darryl Green.
The rib.
The rib injury. Or maybe that was the year before, but they ended up ending the Bears run, which was like 85 through 86, 87. The Bears were, they were contenders, but Washington beat them in 86 and 87. I remember Sweetness sitting in the cold, hands in helmet, and that was pretty much over. But just for the simple fact how the way they just dominated the Denver Broncos coming out of the AFC, they gave them boys like 35 points in like 10 minutes.
And I think Doug Williams has the Super Bowl record.
I've never seen anything like that at all, as far as complete, just total, utter destruction and pounding and domination. That's what 87 those guys were able to do. My number 18, I'm gonna go with the 2000 Ravens. Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson. The offense was pedestrian. Don't turn the ball over. But for what they were able to do, they did set the single season record, 4 fewest points allowed. They broke the 85 Bears record. Hey, man, Ray Lewis, they had what was called the Triangle of Death at the time. They had Sam Adams, Tony Siragusa, and Ray Lewis. I think they gave up like 30. Yeah, Big Goose. I think they gave up like 35, 40 yards rushing per game. You could not run the ball up the middle, and the offenses had no idea how fast that defense was. Then you had Peter Bolwell from Florida State. You had Kelly McCrary at one end. You had Jamie Sharper. You had former Miami Hurricane Dwayne Starks, Arizona cornerback Chris McAllister. Woodson was playing safety. Kim Harrington was kind of playing that robber role too. The offense, it left a lot to be desired. I think they had Brandon Stokely and one of the Ishmael boys. I don't even think it was Rocky. I think it was Quandre. Yeah, Quandre Ishmael. So it was the younger brother. They had Sharp at tight end. He had came over. Running game was pretty good. Jamal Lewis at that time. You got to remember, Jamal Lewis was a beast before the injuries took him out.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah, he was doing his thing. So it was just feast of famine. Let's just get it while the getting is good, and then the playoffs. I think their closest game was Tennessee, and Eddie George and the Titans fumbled the ball away. They went to Oakland, kind of a dirty place. Siragusa falls on Rich Gannon's shoulder.
Hold on, Jones. I gotta. You talking about the Ravens and the Titans, right?
Yeah, Ravens and Titans.
I just want to throw this in there for just cause. Ray Lewis straight up punked Eddie George.
He did. They had some. Yeah, they had some.
Yeah, he punked Eddie George, bro.
They had some.
225-pound running back got straight punked.
Well, that was his first time being hit like that. You got to remember, probably in high school and college, he was probably the biggest and baddest dude out there. So he just ran over everybody. But everybody has their come to Jesus moment, and he so happened to be Ray Lewis. And you got to remember, Tennessee and Baltimore, they would play annually. So it was just kind of like they had bad blood out for each other.
Eddie George wasn't the same after that, man.
No, Eddie George here, and And
then, in the same division before all this real line started.
And then he got hit hard in the first half of the game, and then in the second half, and it was time for Tennessee to go make the play. He heard the footsteps, he fumbled it right and falls right in Ray Lewis' hands. He scampers down the sideline, and they, like I said, they beat Rich Gannon and them. And then the Super Bowl, it was just the Giants. They had no answer for him. Coming in at number 7, I thought long and hard about this. I'm gonna go with the 86 Giants. Just for a simple fact, ball control offense. Joe Morris did his thing. Mark Navarro, Phil Simms, Emmanuel. But it was the defense. It was without a doubt the defense. That 34 defense, Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, those guys, Harry Carson, Leonard Marshall, they just did what they did. Shut down the NFL MVP, John Elway. A lot of people forget that Carl Banks was very underrated. He did his thing. So I had that team. And just the fact that Sims got hot and he took over the second half. I think he set a Super Bowl record, 22 out of 24 passes. And that game got out of control pretty quick. Number 6, I'm going to go with the 89 49ers. 89 49ers. They did some damage too on their way to the Super Bowl. I think
for 2 seasons, they had the longest road winning streak.
Right. I think they did some damage during the regular season as well. The Giants actually – the Rams were their nemesis that season. The Giants ended up losing to the Rams in 89. The Rams had beaten the 49ers twice in 89.
Well, they split in 89.
Okay. They split in 89.
Yeah, because that one Monday Night Football game, the 49ers won. That's when Taylor
That's right. Okay, I thought that was 88. But anyways, so we go into the NFC Championship, and, we watching the game. I was like, the Rams kind of do give them a hard time. No. It was 30-3. Jim Everett heard
footsteps and seeing ghosts at the same time.
Yes, Jim Everett was hearing footsteps and seeing ghosts, and that game was over pretty quick. So my number 5 team of all time, I'm gonna go with the 1992 Dallas Cowboys. The 1992 version of Dallas Cowboys. Say what you want. If you don't have to like it, but if Dallas had you down by 10 points going into the third quarter,
it's a wrap.
Emmitt Smith left, Emmitt Smith right, Emmitt Smith draw, slant to Michael Irvin, 7 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards. It wasn't no stopping. That's what it was. But not to overlook what they did on defense. People got to remember at that time, like when we was talking about our all-time linebackers debate, Ken Norton and that defensive line, they was pretty stout, in the early 90s. Jimmy Johnson, he had some canes on that defense. Ken Norton from UCLA, Russell Maryland, Tony Casillas, he coached him at Oklahoma. I mean, they bring in Charles Haley. I mean, if you ask me, that Charles Haley trade shifts the whole San Francisco-Dallas rivalry. I think if the 49ers were able to keep Charles Haley, then they probably beat Dallas in the 92 NFC Championship. You see what I'm saying? But they didn't have the defensive line to combat some of that. And then defensively, they were able to pressure Young with Charles Haley coming off the edge. Number 4, I'm going to go with the 85 Bears. Number 4, I'm going to go with the 85 Bears. It is what it is. Buddy Ryan, the master of the 46 defense, needs no explanation. I mean, you saw what they did to New England, and we saw what they did to Ferguson, the NFL's leading rusher at that time in the 85 NFC Championship. Singletary meets him in the hole early in the first quarter, and the snow started falling, and the Bears were on their way. Number 3, I have the 83 Raiders.
Not 76. You like 83?
I like the 83 Raiders. I like the 83 Raiders simply because their cornerbacks and their ability. You have to remember coming in in 83. At that time, the Redskins, Theismann, Riggins, those guys, and the Hogs, they had the highest scoring offense in NFL history to that point.
At that time, you right.
At that time, the highest scoring team in NFL history. They had won in 82. They had pretty much steamrolled everybody in the NFC playoffs. Now, what happened in 83 NFC Championship? Did the 49ers get screwed? Yeah, they got screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got cheated.
That would have been a nice matchup, 49ers.
They got robbed. Ronnie Lott got called for holding, but that's when we kind of saw, hey, man. Well, we saw Joe Montana do what he did to Dallas in the 81 championship, but the 83 game was when kind of Joe hit legendary status because it was 24-0. And in the fourth quarter, Montana threw 3 touchdowns, and boom, the Redskins look up. They like, what is going on? And if not for some of those calls, we could have been looking at an all-California Super Bowl in 83. But the ability for Lester Hayes and Mike Hayes to lock up on Art Monk and Charlie Brown and Reggie Kinlaw, he destroyed the whole Hogs by himself. His ability,
Alzado and Howie.
Yeah, his ability to stuff the run and just, be able to lock up on those Redskin receivers one-on-one. Skins had no answer. My number 2 team of all time, I'm going to go with the 75 Steelers. Didn't get a chance to see him play, but history speaks for itself. The original Steel Curtain, man, Jackham. I've never seen a star-studded defense as such. Franco Harris and Bradshaw. Looking at some of the stats, Star hadn't even arrived yet. It was basically run, and hit Swanee over the top deep. Bradshaw did throw a good deep ball, so they did just enough. But that's if you look through analog history with the defense, it's hard not to put The 75 Steelers up there. Number one team of all time. I don't even have the 72 Dolphins on there. They did what they did from 1972. I clap for them, but the best team I've ever seen. And just going through history, I'm going to go with the 84 49ers. I think they were actually the closest team to going undefeated than the Patriots did when they went 18-1. If not for pass interference and a regular season loss 17-14 in 1984 at home to the Pittsburgh Steelers, go back and look at what happened the rest of the season, 84 49ers actually came the closest to duplicating what 72 Dolphins did. They didn't get to the last game and choke. And if you remember anything about that Super Bowl out there in Pasadena, California, 85 in January at Stanford Stadium, hey, man, that Super Bowl was over with second quarter. And their ability to play defense, they were quiet. They didn't have an identity. They didn't do a lot of trash talking. They weren't loud like the Bears barking in the snow. They didn't really intimidate. They didn't intimidate anybody. They didn't have, the gaudy numbers of the 83 Redskins or, whatever.
That's Super Bowl.
They had the number one defense and they ranked number 2 in offense.
They just quietly handled business.
At halftime, the score it wasn't out of hand. That game got out of hand in that third quarter. Coach Walsh went there and made it, and they just took off. It wasn't nothing to do with Montana that day.
Yeah, they couldn't do nothing with it. And just looking back on some of their films, like for most player accounts, Don Shula had no idea how to cover.
And I will say this about
how to cover the West Coast.
There was no Jerry Rice.
There was no Jerry Rice.
Rice was it. There was no Rice on the 84 or 81 49er squads. Rice didn't come to 85. Right. But they did have Dwight Clark and
Freddie Solomon.
And the
Ronaldo Neil Lau. Ronaldo Neil Lau.
And that team was just, hey, what can you say? That West Coast, the West Coast, the way Walsh's offense was, it put pressure on the safeties.
Right.
You have to make a choice. Like if I got a tight end and a receiver, like if my receiver's running a corner or a fly, and the tight end running a post, and now there's the safety got to make a decision. Which one do I take?
Right.
And even if the tight end was just running a 10 and out, and the receiver was crossing, you still got to pick your poison.
Right.
And not only that, that's why you saw the 49ers, because now the linebackers are taken out. That's why you saw the 49ers able to dunk the ball off to Ken Folk, Earl Cooper, Carl Monroe, Roger Craig. That's why the running backs were open.
Right. And as I was saying,
tight ends.
Right. And as I was saying, by most player accounts from the 1984 season, by the time they got to the Super Bowl, by the second or third drive of the game, the 49ers they pretty much realized Don Shula was still running defenses from like 1978. And they had no idea how to cover the West Coast offense. And
let's not forget that 49er defense.
Oh, the 49er defense was awesome. They had they finally got tired of drafting and tired of the people, that they had drafted or the people that they had in camp. They got tired of them getting burnt, and finally Boss just said, we're going to address it. And the year before and a couple of years before that, he had just went ahead and just drafted it, bam, bam, bam. But yeah, I remember Eric Wright and Dwight Hicks and Ronnie Lott and Dana McLemore.
Williamson.
Yeah.
That entire
Carlton Williamson. I remember those guys.
That entire secondary made the Pro Bowl that season. That entire secondary.
Right. The defensive line was underrated too. Dwayne Board, like you said, you had
Fred
Dean. He's in the halftime smoking a pack of cools. And he go out there and get you 3 or 4 sacks.
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that you smoke cigarettes and stuff back in the time. And you look at some of the old NFL films, you can see Len Dawson sitting there with a beer. I think it was a beer. It may have been a beer or it may have been a bottle of water, but he for sure was smoking a cigarette too. It's just crazy. Right. It's just right. Right. It's just crazy to think about, how much nutrition and stuff has changed. And, players today, you would hardly think about those guys lighting up a Cool or a Newport, at halftime. But that's what it was, and that's what they did. But it's been a pleasure. This one has been a good one. We look forward to bringing you some more action as we count down and get ready for the Super Bowl next Sunday. Don't forget to check us out every Friday night, 8 p.m. Anchor FM, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Just Noise. Shout out to Worldwide Youth Events down in College Station, Texas. Ebony Joy Jones. You can catch her on Facebook, Worldwide Youth Events, on IG, Worldwide Youth Events. For M. Greasy, Doc, and King Dre, Super Bowl's best team. It's been a blast. And it's Just Noise.